It's fair to say that the Xbox One wasn't the greatest of successes in the gaming industry. It wasn't ever at the level where thousands of units had to be dumped into the desert, a la ET, but Microsoft definitely learned that the third time wasn't the charm when it came to their consoles. It's hard to reveal a console quite as terribly as they did though. Pretty much the only thing that could have made it worse is if they'd unmasked Master Chief on stage and it was just a bunch of Rabbids inside. Bad PR on the road to launch and a woeful lack of big name exclusives meant that Microsoft's former flagship console lost a lot of ground to the PS4 and even the Nintendo Switch, despite it launching 4 years later. However, Microsoft slowly reversed their fortunes during the Xbox One's lifecycle, with the Xbox One X being a beast of a console, and Xbox Game Pass growing to become the biggest subscription service in gaming. It also helped that they stopped trying to make a TV console and now actually make games again. Whoa! Now that the era of the Xbox Series X and S is in full swing, we've decided to take a long look back at the best Xbox One games ever made. If you enjoy this list, be sure to leave a like and comment down below with what your favourite Xbox One game was. And if you want more top tier gaming list content on the YouTube, give us a subscribe. Go on, it's nearly Christmas, do your bit of charity, go on, it's right there. Whoa, look at that big button. Whoa. Number 20. Alien Isolation. One of the de facto games designed to make you change the colour of your pants to brown, Alien Isolation is perhaps one of the scariest games ever made. Crafted in the same horror game mould as the likes of Amnesia, you must hide from a xenomorph intent on murdering you and everything you've ever loved. And to make matters worse, you're given no proper means of defending yourself for the majority of the game. The Alien franchise boasts a wide spectrum of quality, especially when it comes to its video games. For every brilliant entry, there's a Colonial Marines that makes you question why you even loved the franchise to begin with. The Alien series is on the uptick at the minute, with great titles like Fireteam Elite and Dark Descent, but Alien Isolation, unless you're IGN, is the best of the best, and that's thanks to it having some of the best enemy AI ever. Just remember to pack an extra pair of underwear and hope you don't become a parent to a new baby chestburster. I mean, it's tough out here being a single parent, you know, especially when you're dead. Number 19. Cuphead. On the surface, Cuphead looks like a game that's filled with joy, from the bright colours to the over-the-top characters that are evocative of the animation stylings of yesteryear. Of course, the joy comes coupled with frustration, as Cuphead is a pretty hardcore 2D shooter in the style of Contra or Metal Slug. Tough bosses and hard levels are the order of the day, but the gameplay is so good you'll come back for more. Essentially a boss rush of super hard fights, and also that cat one which was weirdly easy. You'll unlock new weapons and skills that'll make your life somewhat easier against these massive creatures. But if you're still struggling to succeed, you'll probably have to recruit a friend to help you in local co-op. With the excellent DLC campaign adding more boss fights too, Cuphead is undoubtedly one of the best Xbox One games out there, and one of the best looking games to boot. Just try not to boot in your TV screen after you die for the 7,000th time. It's a learning experience. Number 18. Killer Instinct. This is the best fighting game on the Xbox One. We will take no questions. For our money, Killer Instinct is one of the greatest fighting games on the market right now, despite the fact that the game launched with just a handful of playable characters as a free-to-play game. 3 seasons of content later, along with a massive influx of characters, arenas, modes and more, and Killer Instinct is utterly wonderful. If you're looking to get started, you can play the definitive edition on Game Pass, which includes all of the characters and modes, making it perhaps the best fighting game available on Xbox One. Many may decry KI as a button mashing game, but there's strategy and mind games to be found here, with the combo/counter breakers offering plenty of depth, and Killer Instinct played at a higher level is a spectacle to behold. Now we just need to wait patiently for Killer Instinct 2, if it ever happens of course. Make like it's 2021 and drop a bring back KI down in the comments down below. Number 17. Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice. Originally a PS4 and PC exclusive, Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice eventually found its way over to the Xbox One, with developers Ninja Theory very kindly donating money to mental health charities based on the sales of the game. It's fitting really, as Hellblade explores the effect of a deteriorating mental health state on the lead character Senua, as she tries to save the soul of a dead lover from the evil Hela. Yeah, that would stress me out a bit as well, to be fair. Perhaps one of the few video games ever made that comes with a better with headphones disclaimer, Hellblade uses spatial audio to illustrate Senua's own battle with her inner demons. Hearing an overwhelming wave of voices all preying on Senua's insecurities is part of what makes Hellblade such a unique and memorable experience. We've had a lot of kind words to say about Hellblade over the years, and if you haven't played it yet, consider this your encouragement before the sequel comes out, and we get to experience that weird cave baby man in all its weird and cavey baby man glory. Number 16, Dishonored 2. Dishonored might have been the game that put Arcane Studios on the map for a lot of people, but Dishonored 2 showcased a studio at the peak of their powers, confident in their own abilities. Building on the foundations of the original game, Dishonored 2 offered multiple characters, a host of new abilities, and bigger levels that allowed more chaos. While the original game was set in the chaotic city of Dunwall, Dishonored 2 moves the open-ended stealth action to the coastal town of Konaka 15 years later. The setting might have changed, but the choice on whether to go all guns blazing, or one gun blazing, or be a little bit creative when dispatching your enemies is still yours. As far as first-person stealth games go, Dishonored 2 is the creme de la creme, making it one of the best Xbox One games you can buy too, or just play on Game Pass and then wonder why Arcane stopped making them. Number 15, Sonic Mania Plus. Oh, nostalgia. You're often a cruel temptress that forces us to hold things in such high regard, so much so that when we revisit them, they can't possibly live up to the idea we've built up in our head. I played 2 Human again the other day, and I nearly cried. Fortunately, that fate did not befall Sonic Mania. In fact, Mania only served to prove that old school Sonic is in fact the best Sonic, a point further proven by the absolutely awful Sonic Forces that came out only a few months later. Sorry, Sonic Forces defenders, all 5 of you out there, it wasn't great. A healthy mix of nostalgia and genuinely brilliant new ideas, Sonic Mania Plus feels like the perfect sequel to those classic games, such as the original trilogy, Sonic & Knuckles, and Sonic CD. Fortunately for Sega, Sonic seems to be in a slightly better place thanks to Sonic Frontiers, but we're still waiting for Sonic Mania 2. Or if we're being really crazy, how about Sonic Adventure 3? Number 14, Life Do Be Strange Though. While Telltale might have pioneered the narrative adventure game genre, it's fair to say that Life is Strange took the ball and ran with it. The story follows 2 friends, Max and Chloe, as they investigate the disappearance of a missing girl. Also, Max has the ability to control time, and choices you make in the story can really screw you over later. No pressure or anything, it's only the entire fate of Arcadia Bay in your hands. No big deal. Since the original Life is Strange, the franchise has released 2 excellent follow-ups in Life is Strange 2 and Life is Strange True Colors, and even a prequel series in Life is Strange Before the Storm. So if you enjoy the first game, you've got 3 more titles to enjoy afterwards. It might come across as a bit hipster and a kind of twee for some people's tastes, but when it comes to pure emotional storytelling, there's no beating Max and Chloe's adventure together. Well, maybe until the top 5. Number 13, Sea of Thieves. What started out as a rocky voyage has become one of Microsoft's highlights, as Sea of Thieves can genuinely offer some of the biggest laughs we've had with an Xbox headset on. While the framework of the game is as skeletal as the AI enemies you encounter, as the game mostly boils down to becoming a pirate's booty delivery sailor, Sea of Thieves thrives on the moment-to-moment emergent gameplay that occurs as players cross paths. It's a water cooler game, with the game's lifespan having been buoyed by the fresh anecdotes that are created. Plus, with so much post-launch content to play with, and even more planned, there's never been a better time to set sail. Considering Sea of Thieves is one of the biggest selling points of Xbox Game Pass, it shouldn't be too difficult to find a crew of good hearty seamen to sail the high seas with. Was that joke too easy? Probably. Do we regret it? Absolutely not. Jizz. Number 12, Catorl. If you want compelling third-person shooters with unique gameplay mechanics and intriguing stories, you go to Remedy. The Finnish developers have created some of the most surprising and wonderful shooters of all time, but their magnum opus might just be Control, a horror-action blend that's liable to confuse you almost as much as it thrills you. Who knew that a refrigerator could be one of the most dangerous items in the known universe? Set inside the fictional Federal Bureau of Control, which takes more than a few cues from the SCP collaborative writing movement, players control Jessie Faden as she tries to find answers to a supernatural event from her childhood. Once she arrives at the Bureau, she finds a secretive organisation trying to protect reality from extra-dimensional forces, some of which just happen to possess everyday objects. Control is pretty cheap as anything now, and well worth experiencing if you like cult classics like Psyops, but wished it had a little bit more David Lynch to it. Number 11, Hollow Knight. Listen, alright, did we just straight up forget to put this game on our best Switch games video list? Yes. Do you need to keep commenting that every 2 hours? No. Will Silksong ever come out? Well, will we ever get a YouTube plaque? Don't answer that one. Don't answer that one. Probably the de facto Metroidvania game released in the last 10, maybe even 20 years, Hollow Knight is one of the most gratifying games on the market when it all clicks for you. It's tough but never impossible. Complex, well, still simple enough for anyone to be able to pick up and play. It also has a dude who throws dung at you and chuckles away the whole time, which is elite game design. With some of the best hand-drawn visuals you're ever likely to see, a morose yet captivating atmosphere, and lore that is as deep as the Mariana Trench, you've got to be pretty void of heart to not recognise how special this game is. Number 10, Titanfall 2. Ah, BT7274, you beautiful son of a gun. You found your way into our hearts, talking about your protocols and detections of sarcasm. Now, if only Respawn could stop messing around with Apex Legends and Star Wars, whatever that is, so they could pull the trigger on Titanfall 3, that'd be grand. We're all waiting for it, lads. It's been a minute. Titanfall 2 could have easily half-assed the single-player campaign, instead choosing to focus on the multiplayer like other games that don't feature on this list, but no. If anything, the campaign mode to Titanfall 2 is the game's biggest strength, delivering an action-packed adventure with a heartwarming emotional core. Who saw that coming from a game about giant robots smacking each other? And even if you prefer multiplayer, Titanfall 2 boasts incredible fast-paced warfare in that department too. And it actually works now. What? As FPS games go, Titanfall 2 was, and still is, the total package. It's the Lex Luger of shooters, if you will. Number 9, Yakuza 0. After what felt like generations of the Yakuza / Like a Dragon franchise being a PlayStation-only series, Sega and RGG Studio decided to start bringing over their back catalogue of games for Xbox players, and neither party has looked back since. It feels like the franchise has reached new heights since making the platform jump, thanks to the extra eyeballs that Xbox and specifically Game Pass has provided. While pretty much every game in the series is fantastic in its own way, most would agree that the series peaked with Yakuza 0, which serves as a prequel to the main series and is a great starting point for new players. Incredible combat, fantastic music, and a wonderful story make this unmissable, as Yakuza 0 is a game that'll delight, surprise, and shock you in equal measure across its 50 to 60 hour story. And then you can spend another 100 hours mastering karaoke. I mean, you've got to be at an esports level at something, right? Number 8, Resident Evil 7. While the reveal was a little bit controversial, Resident Evil 7 refined and reinvented what it meant to be a Resident Evil game in the modern era. Turns out the secret was to take things back to basics, albeit with a whole new perspective, as this was the franchise's first proper foray into first-person gameplay. The Survivor spin-offs do not count, I don't care. In Resident Evil 7, you control Ethan Winters as he wanders a mansion in the middle of nowhere to look for his missing wife. In typical Resident Evil fashion, the locals are weird mutants and really want to murder you in the most gory way possible, but despite being an everyman, Ethan's will to survive and incredulous reactions to Ari's trademark silliness makes him a worthwhile protagonist. Also, Jack Baker smashing through that wall for the first time may be scarier than dogs through windows. The first person camera might not be for everyone, so it's fortunate for you that the remake of Resident Evil 2 is also utterly incredible, while Resi 3 is also pretty good, despite the fact that you can beat it in the time it takes to eat a Jill sandwich. Number 7, Forza Horizon 5. Playground Games have quietly built up a reputation as being one of Microsoft's more reliable developers, thanks to the continued success of the Forza Horizon series. Their most recent entry, Forza Horizon 5, takes the action to Mexico, allowing players to explore the towns, deserts, jungles and volcanoes of the region, except instead of seeing them on a crowded sightseeing bus, you get to perform sick jumps and drifts around them in your custom Ferrari. Forza Horizon 5 builds on the foundations introduced in the previous game, with plenty of modes and tools for players to create their own events, ensuring that the fun never ends. On top of that, 2 excellent DLC expansions in the form of Rally Adventure and Hot Wheels Park add even more events, cars and race types to the game, while the seasonal content ensures there's always something new to play when you boot the game up. Now we just hope that Playground can continue that excellent run of form with the upcoming Fable release. Do you have high hopes for that? Let us know down in the comments, down below. Number 6, Hades. Perhaps the best roguelike ever made, Supergiant Games created nothing short of a masterpiece with Hades. Playing as the god of the underworld's son Zagreus, you spend the game trying to escape from the clutches of Hades in order to reunite with your mother. With excellent dungeon crawling-esque gameplay and a decent selection of weapons ensuring that Hades is incredibly enjoyable from the get-go. The permanent upgrades also mean players feel a constant sense of progression throughout the game. Me, I permanently want Megara to step on me. The real highlight of Hades is the story and characters, as Supergiant add to the tapestry of Greek mythology, offering epilogues of sorts for characters like Achilles, Orpheus, and others. Meanwhile, Zagreus can form relationships with the various Chthonic and Olympic gods, with the writing and drip-fed story ensuring you have more reasons to keep playing as each run offers a new chance to learn more about your favourite gods. Be warned that if you pick Hades up, you might find it hard to put down. Megara can pick me up and put me down a ditch any time she likes. Number 5, Rootin' Dootin' Redootin' 2. Fans had to wait for almost a decade for the release of Red Dead Redemption 2, and the highly anticipated sequel had big shoes to fill. John Marston's original story could form part of gaming's Mount Rushmore, but this iteration might have eclipsed it. From immersive gameplay, poignant storytelling, and performances from the acting talent that stand as some of the best that this industry has ever seen, Red Dead Redemption 2 is nothing short of a landmark achievement. A prequel to the events of the original Red Dead Redemption, the tale of Arthur Morgan was one of 2018's biggest highlights, earning a deserved reputation as a triumph of the 8th console generation. You owe it to yourself to saddle up with this game and get lost in its deep characters and incredible level of detail that put the rest of the industry on notice. It's not exactly fast-paced all of the time, but Red Dead Redemption 2 is the pinnacle of rootin' tootin' cowboy shooting, and hey, there's also Red Dead Online. Hello? Is anyone there? Hello? Number 4, The Witcher 3, Wild Hunt. The adventures of the White Wolf Geralt, the silver-haired sex pest himself, have been around in gaming for nearly 2 decades at this point, but it took CD Projekt Red until The Witcher 3 to really nail the formula. 2015's landmark release became an almost overnight sensation, not too dissimilar to the success that Baldur's Gate 3 enjoyed this year. When The Witcher 3 first came out, you couldn't move the people praising every single aspect of this game, but whether or not it lives up to that hype is for you to decide. Ultimately, the fact remains that CD Projekt Red created a fantasy RPG that resonated with a huge audience, as you explore the continent as Geralt, fighting massive creatures, bandits, corrupt empires, and everything in between, including your own teleporting horse. With 2 massive DLC expansions to boot, and some of the very best side quests in any RPG ever, The Witcher 3 is simply unmissable. You might not have the 100 hours to spare right now, but just wait until you come across a unicorn for the first time. And hey, Geralt comes across it too. Dun 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 bum. Number 3, Doom Eternal. Rip and tear until it is done. Those immortal words are all you needed to hear before venturing forth upon the path of demonic annihilation. And what an excellent primer it was to the glorious cacophony of violence that id Software and Bethesda have created. Doom 2016 was a glorious kick in the teeth for the FPS genre, stripping back the layers before reveling in the rust, dust and guts of Mars, but Doom Eternal kicked the action into overdrive. Taking the action to a demon-plagued Earth, Doom Eternal catches up with an upgraded Doom guy, complete with shoulder-mounted cannons and a cyberpunk-esque wristblade, as he massacres his way through the demonic hordes. It is awesome. With more weapons, lots more enemies, and a compelling gameplay loop that force players to get stuck into the action to survive, Doom Eternal is an absolute classic. We just wish Mick Gordon and id Software could get along. It's a crying shame we will never get a proper soundtrack release, or no more Mick Gordon on a new Doom game. Sad. Number 2, Nier Automata. Platinum Games might not command the same level of respect as they did before the launch of Babylon's Fall, remember that? No, nobody does, but when they're at the top of their game, they're untouchable. Case in point, Nier Automata, a character action RPG that was originally available on PlayStation 4 before making a home for itself on Xbox One in 2018, becoming one of the console's greatest games in the process. If you like your action fast and frantic, while your stories are haunting meditations on the existential nature of humanity, this is the game for you. Nier Automata's perfect blend of story, music, acting and gameplay have allowed many to consider the game among the greatest titles of all time, and it's not hard to see why. Most of the people who've played it note that it's left a huge impression on them afterwards, which is the mark of a generational level game, And the best part is that if you love Nier Automata, there's even Nier Replicant on Xbox One too, which is a fantastic remake of the Xbox 360 classic that leans back on the Japanese version. But neither are quite our top pick, which is number 1, Elden Ring. In arguably one of the greatest games ever made, FromSoft's Elden Ring deserves its place at the top of this list due to the fact that it perfects the Souls-like formula that From Software have pioneered since Demon's Souls. As the Chosen Tarnished, you're given the freedom to explore the lands between, tackling dungeons and bosses in any order you like, gaining experience, weapons and gear in the process to help you defeat the challenging foes awaiting you. While the core gameplay is much the same as other Souls-like games, the enhanced choice in exploration, the freedom to grind for better gear, and tools such as spirit summons help make Elden Ring much more liberating and welcoming to those who maybe have been too afraid to take on the challenge of a Souls-like experience. You may still gain a phobia after hearing the opening notes of this song though. However, if you prefer a much tougher challenge, or you're just looking to test your mettle after seeing everything the Lands Between has to offer, the Dark Souls trilogy is also on Xbox One, along with Sekiro, which makes you feel like you have the reaction times of a sleeping Snorlax, who is also dead. But for our money, if you've got 100 hours to spare, jump on Torrent and explore one of the best open worlds ever committed to a video game. And that was our list for the best Xbox One games of all time. What did we miss? What's too high? What's too low? Be sure to let us know down in the comments down below. And that also concludes our brief look at the best games on Xbox consoles. We'll get to Xbox Series a little later down the line. I'll give it a few more years. Join us next week for Sega. Sorry, Sega. Alright, bye.
Where have you been searching all along, confessing while alone.